I've been watching these games ever since I was a little kid. The biggest games of our lives.
I've dreamed about these days all my life.
It'll be their third consecutive trip to Atlanta.
How about that? LSU punches their ticket for the first time since 2011 to the SEC title game.
We're not done yet.
It's not often you get a matchup like this.
LSU football has arrived, and we're here to stay.
Gonna go deep. Blaylock, touchdown.
It would mean the world to me to be able to bring an SEC championship back home.
Touchdown, Tigers!
Team full of people that care about this state, and we're going to bring it back.
Down he goes.
To be able to put our name down in history books would be incredible. Something you dream about.
We worked so hard to get here. No reason to turn back now.
Recent history has shown us that Atlanta has been a crucial stop in the process of determining the national champion. And today's game is exactly that. The victor will get a virtual automatic bid to the college football playoff. The loser will have to sit and agonizingly wait for tomorrow's selection show to see what their future holds. Which of these teams will walk away with the SEC championship and a CFP berth? And which will be cast back into the pool of hopefuls? Number 4, Georgia, and number 2, LSU, is 90 minutes away. And the Tigers have already arrived here at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. A business trip at the end of an undefeated regular season. A very confident team. A team Ed Orgeron expects to win today. Making no bones about it. Hello, everyone. I'm Adam Zerker. Welcome to the Drive to Atlanta, presented by Mercedes-Benz. Coming up, it's the SEC Championship game on CBS, presented by Dr. Pepper, Georgia and LSU. I'm joined by Rick Neuheisel and Brian Jones, like we've been all season. And today we find out a lot, including, does defense still win championships?
Well, that's the major question here, because we have a big-time defense here. Georgia comes in the number 2 scoring defense in the country. The last 4 national champs have been top 10 scoring defenses. But LSU scores nearly 50 points a game, Brian. So what gives? Offense versus defense. Let's get it on.
Oh, Mills Lane's reference there. I tell you what, if you like your life, you live it. Both of these squads, Georgia, LSU, are loving life right now. They're living it to the fullest. Now they have a grand opportunity to sprinkle a little conference SEC championship icing on that life.
And who gets to live their kind of football life on the field today? 2 very different teams. This is a matchup of number 2 LSU, who's transformed into an offensive juggernaut behind Heisman frontrunner Joe Burrow, while number 4 Georgia is an unflashy, solid squad built around a nasty defense. The unstoppable going up against the immovable. How do you break something like this down?
Well, the recipe in the Bayou starts with Burrow. He has been phenomenal as the quarterback at LSU. No question about it. A 4,000-yard passer. He's got 2,000-yard receivers to throw to. He's got a 1,000-yard back to hand it off to. But he's got the keys to the car. He can do whatever he wants. He's got full autonomy.
Yeah, and you got a Georgia defense that knows they've got to throw some kind of bad seasoning into that gumbo that they're brewing there in the Bayou. Joe Burrow had a fabulous season, but you know what? This Georgia defense, they're the most righteous in the SEC right now. Top in total rushing, scoring defense. Man, they'll put a dent in your ball fade. They've got to apply some pressure, and they have to tackle in space. 26 sacks on the season. That's not blowing the doors off, but they played the most tenacious team defense of anyone in all of college football.
Well, if we have a big X factor in Burrow, we have a little X factor. No insult intended to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He has been phenomenal as the running back for the Tigers. A 1,000-yard back, we mentioned that. But he's also a safety valve and then some out of the backfield for Burrow. When Burrow gets in trouble, he finds 22, 43 catches on the year. He's been absolutely wonderful.
Young man has that low center of gravity and employs that deadly spin move. He's slicker than snot on a doorknob. Oh, so you better buck up and try to tackle him space. Good luck.
And use some hand sanitizer as well. Clean up afterward. He's also the last guy to crack 100 yards on the ground against this Georgia defense, and it was in that win last year in Baton Rouge, where Ed Orgeron said Joe Burrow won this team over. Now, for Georgia, on their offensive side, Jake Fromm's had a solid but not glitzy season. His only stumble throwing those 3 interceptions in the Bulldogs' lone loss to South Carolina, but he hasn't thrown above 50% since the Florida game over a month ago. What's the diagnosis here, Rick?
A lot of scrutiny on Jake Fromm's game right now, but look at the touchdown to interception ratio, 21-3. Guys, that's always been championship football. That's the reason they're here in Atlanta. It's going to be critical for him to be great on third down today, and time of possession, I think, will be important to the Bulldogs.
Well, everyone's labeling Jake Fromm a distressed property. There's no diminished value when you look at his last 4 games. The numbers there, 10 touchdowns, 0, a goose egg in the picks department. So continue to play your game. What's ailing him in this offense? The lack of continuity with the receivers.
Yeah, and a lack of guys to throw to as well. And, of course, one of those could be DeAndre Swift, but he's banged up coming into this thing, injuring his shoulder last week against Georgia Tech. And then George Pickens, their freshman star wide receiver, being forced to sit out the first half of today's game for a fighting ejection. This is 12 rounds against Georgia Tech last week. You put it all together, though, Rick, and this offense is hard-pressed more than ever.
Well, DeAndre Swift is critical to this offense. As you see there, 1,200 yards as a runner. This offense was built to run the football. That will be important. He comes in with a banged-up shoulder. It reminds us of Kerryon Johnson just a couple years ago when he came in with a bum shoulder for Auburn. He only managed 40-some-odd yards on the ground. If that happens today for Swift, they'll be in trouble. And missing their big receivers, right? Pickens not available. Cager lost for the season. That little safety valve for Fromm into the boundary, no longer there for him.
Right, that's true. Swift may have to, catch some rocks out of the backfield, something he's done all season, and the guys trying to cover him. One of them, Grant Delpit, has been dealing with an ankle injury, one he suffered versus Auburn back in October. He missed the Arkansas game, returned to the lineup last week. Not only did he return, but the ferocity of this defense returned. They cut up Texas A&M and sold them for bait. 3 interceptions in that ball game. They have 14 on the season, 169 total yards of offense they allowed to the Aggies. They need to bring that same tenacity to this one.
Guys might not be open downfield. It could be Swift. It could be Zamir White. Guys, the running backs trying to catch passes for this team. All right, let's get you caught up on what's going on around the country. Got to start last night. Number 5 Utah in a great spot. Pac-12 championship, trying to play its way into the playoff picture, facing Oregon, who had a 20-0 lead, an 8-point lead, and then C.J. Verdell, Rick, bye-bye.
70 yards here. Ducks ran for 239 against Utah, who came into the game as the leading defense against the run. They end up with well over 200 yards. Oregon on their way to the Granddaddy.
Yeah, the Rose Bowl, and Verdell, the 208 yards is double what any individual player had on the ground against them. So a missed opportunity for Utah, but you can also say, what if for the Ducks because of the loss to Arizona State just a couple weeks ago. All right, meantime, it opens the door for the Big 12 champs. Should LSU beat Georgia today, whoever wins this would just be in, tied at 13, third quarter, BJ.
Jalen Hurts, after a couple turnovers in the first half, finds Nick Basquin, 18-yard touchdown. The Sooners go up 20-13 on the Bears.
And, of course, it was Jalen Hurts whose Bama career came full circle in this SEC championship game a year ago. And now they're on top 20-13, trying to get back to the CFP. It helps to have CeeDee Lamb back on the field today for them as well. Now, over on CBS Sports Network, there's other games going on. But right here, we got Ed Orgeron on the field. You heard the crowd erupting moments ago as he made his way across the turf here and in game mode and ready to say go Tigers to Jamie Erdahl very shortly. Now I said there's a few other games going on. Conference USA, it's not just that Florida Atlantic is up 21-3 on UAB. It's that reports everywhere have Lane Kiffin bound for Ole Miss already, with a press conference possibly scheduled for Monday already. Meantime, former Gators coach Jim McElwain, 1-11 last year. His Central Michigan squad down by 3 against Miami, Ohio, and App State looking to beat Louisiana again in the Sun Belt Championship. When we return, the uplifting story of Vanderbilt quarterback Mo Hassan trying to make a difference in the world. The Drive to Atlanta, presented by Mercedes-Benz, is sponsored by Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And by Sonic, this is how you Sonic.
Penny Hardaway and the Tigers ride their hot streak into Birmingham to take on the Blazers. Today at 5:30 on CBS Sports Network.
And we welcome you back to the drive to Atlanta. Joe Burrow is on the field here, fresh off setting SEC records for passing yards and touchdowns and looking to cap it with a conference championship over Georgia today. Now, you do rarely hear stories about Vanderbilt at the SEC championship, but some transcend the playing field. The Doors quarterback Mo Hassan has put together a project called Second Spoon. Using a converted FedEx delivery truck and the help of many Vanderbilt athletes, its mission is to go out, find Nashville's underprivileged, and make sure that they get a hearty meal, as they did on Thanksgiving Day.
Initially, as a freshman, I noticed in the dining halls there was a disparity between the food wasted and proper avenues to redistribute them to the homeless. I did some research and I realized that up to 40% of processed foods in the United States are wasted.
He came up with this idea when he was at Syracuse, and just hurt him to see all that great food thrown away. But he actually made it happen, which to me is the most impressive part.
I started Second Spoon with the idea that we would get student athletes together at universities around the country and redistribute these surplus foods. The food is all from the different dining halls at select universities. They all freeze the foods Monday through Friday. They reheat them for us to package them in individual containers, and then we hit different locations around downtown. We've rescued and distributed upwards of 50,000 meals. I knew that I wanted to use a food truck as a medium for distributing food because it would allow us to target certain populations that other organizations could not. I found a FedEx truck on Craigslist, and so it looks just like a regular food truck, but it's actually a repurposed FedEx truck.
Anytime we can, help those around us, it gives us a chance to be better people. Second Spoon's done that, and Mo's done that.
The biggest thing for us is developing relationships with the people who are experiencing homelessness themselves. Learning their stories and seeing how people can be so optimistic, in spite of such circumstances, to us is really eye-opening. I think every day is special in that we have the opportunity to help our communities, but especially on Thanksgiving.
Vanderbilt is lucky to have Mo Hassan as a student athlete here. His impact will be felt for a long time.
Truly, truly amazing work. And there's a second branch of Second Spoon now in Miami. What a wonderful story of a young man trying to make a difference in the world. And their season, of course, already wrapped up. Another quarterback by the name of Joe Burrow looking to extend their season into championship form here today, but some just great work going on here.
Well, I love that we get a chance to tell stories like this. Right. Too often we're talking about transgressions with student athletes. These guys are making a difference.
Mo Hassan, his teammates there at Vanderbilt, they're doing a first-rate job in the College of Humanity.
Indeed, guys. And I got more good news for you. We're going to be joined by Auburn head coach Gus Malzahn and our buddy, the three-time SEC champion, Kevin Carter, as we continue.
The 22 on the field, they don't just represent these guys here, but our military all over the world.
Touchdown, Navy. What a drive. And a touchdown. What an opening march. You kind of throw the records out the window when these two get together.
All right, welcome back. It is time to go down to the field, and working the turf for us today is a first-team All-SEC legend and three-time SEC champion with the Florida Gators back in the early 90s. Also won a Super Bowl. Kevin Carter, member of our CBS Sports family, working the turf. Kevin, what's going on down there? Welcome.
Hey, Adam, how you doing? Hey, LSU is back in the SEC championship game for the first time since 2011. They look to remain unbeaten and clinch their first ever college football playoff berth. Now I look around and I see a lot of purple and gold. There should be, because of the 15,700 tickets that were allotted. They were gone in a matter of hours. But they're playing against a Georgia team who's been here for the last 3 years and for whose home stadium is just down the road in Athens, Georgia, just 70 miles away. So there's a whole lot of red and black in the stands right now. LSU head coach Ed Orgeron, he knew that this might be the case, so he's been blasting Georgia fight song music all week long for his players to get used to a Georgia-friendly environment. But I spoke to Kirby Smart just a little while ago, and I said, hey, man, what you got on defense? Just give me something. And he says to me, Kevin, it's like a game of chess. Our personnel groups have to influence what they're able to do on offense. Back to you.
I love it, Kevin. I hope Kirby knows he was on the record. That's good stuff.
Hey, you're always on the record.
We're going to be checking with Kevin throughout the day. And joining us now, a man who is no stranger to this SEC championship game and who is still floating on cloud 9 after last week's dramatic Iron Bowl win over Alabama. But that's not the only reason. Did they get them out yet? Auburn head coach Gus Malzahn joins us now. Before we talk football at all, congratulate you are a grandfather again.
Yeah, it's been a good week. You know, Iron Bowl, and you have your second grandson. It's as good as it gets.
Now I'm concerned. Are we sure everybody's out of the hedges at Jordan-Hare?
Yeah, you know, I don't know. It looked like there were still a few stuck, but hey, that's a good thing. You know, when you win the Iron Bowl, they get stuck in the hedges. That's kind of starting to be tradition.
Well, let me ask you this, Gus. There's a lot of questions about the rules in every time there's an Iron Bowl at Jordan-Hare. It seems like you have to bring a rule book to the game.
Yeah.
Talk to us about the end of the first half. You were arguing to get a second put back on the clock.
Yeah.
Clearly, you got that accomplished. What did the officials tell you as they were reviewing the play after what the mechanics would be trying to get the kickoff?
Well, I knew there was 1 second on the clock, you know, when he went down. So I was just hoping they would review. Then you got to be ready for whistle field goal right after that. It was 1 second, and it ended up being the difference in the game.
You can see here Coach Saban is a little bit upset. Had the shoe been on the other foot, what would have been your reaction?
Yeah, I'd have been, well, I don't know. You know, I don't know. I think it was a good rule. I mean, I think it should have been reviewed. And, you know, I'm real proud of our field goal team. You know, they went out there, whistle field goal. You work on it all the time, like you know, and we were able to execute it in the biggest game of the year.
All right, Coach. Now, you're known as a pretty good tricker. Inducing Alabama into that illegal participation there at the end of the ball game. Is that some of your finest work today? And how long you been working on that one?
Hey, it worked out good. You know, they got dynamic returners, so you got to get creative with ways to keep him either off the field or kick away. You know, they rushed their defense back on. There's a little confusion. They forgot about their punt returner. We saw there was 12 on the field. It worked out really good.
It sure did. The non-kick trick. We have to have a nickname for everything that you guys do.
Yeah, every time there's Iron Bowl, they do name it something. So
you got to do something. You got that 1 second back on there. Look, you can speak to the two teams we're going to have on the field behind us here. You're the only team that held LSU below 36, and you held them to 23. You're the only team that scored a rushing touchdown on Georgia. What do you make of this matchup of strength on strength we're going to have here?
Well, I think you're right. Georgia's the best defense we played, and LSU's probably the best offense we played. You know, what we try to do is confuse the quarterback. You know, we try to give him multiple looks. LSU's going to call a play. They're going to look to the sideline. Their coach is going to determine, yeah, it's good. We tried to go ahead and disguise things and really tried to be patient, too. We took a defensive lineman off, added another DB, you know, tried to get them to be patient. They ran the ball, and then our whole deal was once inside the 20-yard line, then play base defense and keep them out of the end zone.
You mentioned try and trick the opposing quarterback. Hard to do that against Joe Burrow. He seems unflappable. I say his legs are that people don't value his legs. He had some big runs against you.
Yeah, he did. He's a great player, you know, but you've got to keep him off balance. If he knows what coverage you're in, he's going to carve you up. So that'll be a big thing. You know, Kirby I expect him to check a lot, and that's kind of what he does, but you're exactly right. He can hurt you with his legs, too.
Very good stuff. And as we continue here, we're going to have more with Gus Malzahn about our game today, as well as the passing of Auburn legend and Heisman Trophy winner, Pat Sullivan. College football is celebrating its 150th anniversary season, and on Sunday it lost one of its greats. Former Auburn quarterback and Heisman Trophy winner Pat Sullivan passed away after a long battle with cancer. Sullivan was 69, and as we're continued to be joined here by Gus Malzahn, Coach, he was instrumental in bringing you to Auburn.
Yeah, he was on the hiring committee, and you know, I think the world of him. Unbelievable family. great role model, just everything you would think of in an Auburn man.
And he coached as long as he could, huh?
He did, and he was a great coach too. Great person. Went to the funeral yesterday. It was just, it was really special.
Well, I'm sorry for your loss, and as we continue to get ready for this game, and all the coaches and strategies that are crunching all those last-minute clips of videos that they've seen and trying to stay loose. If Georgia watched tape of what you guys were able to do against this LSU offense, we're going to take a look at some stuff that you guys did that was successful as well. Can Georgia imitate what you guys did?
Well, I think Georgia's going to do what they do. But like I said, they're the best defense we faced all year. Up front, they got about 8 guys they rotate. They're all high-level guys. Their back-end guys can flat-out run, and they can cover. And their 2 safeties are probably the 2 most veteran safeties in our league. So I think they're a great defense.
So, Coach, you're one of 3 offenses that totaled over 300 yards of offense versus that Georgia defense. What was the key to putting them back on their heels, especially late in that ball game?
Well, for us to be able to run the football successfully, and that's hard to do against them. But if you get some tempo going, which LSU will, you know, and keep them from just kind of getting hunkered down in there, I think that'll help.
I want to ask you about Jake Fromm. Much has been said. 4 games in a row under 50%. You've seen him now 3 times. Actually 4 times, because you played him in the playoff game here for the championship. Anything missing in his game right now?
I think he's a big-time quarterback. You got to keep in mind the experience factor. I mean, he's played 3 SEC championship games in a row. And you know, he really plays his best games usually in bigger games. I'm a big fan of his. He's tough. You know, he's got great command of his offense, and I expect him to play well today.
Coach, when you look at this LSU defense, they've been much maligned as Jake Fromm and the Georgia offense. That secondary, what's your approach? Those are some pretty good guys back there. I know Delpit went down in the ball game against you, but how did you challenge them down the field?
Yeah, stay away from 24. I learned that the hard way, okay? He's a freshman. We went after him right before halftime. Ended up being the difference in the game. But, you know, they're a good defense, you know. But I really feel like Georgia, if they're able to run the football and shorten the game, I really think that's going to be a big key. And I think they probably can do that.
For LSU, focus on the offense. For Georgia, it's the focus on the defense. I think that's very similar to how we saw with your team as Bo Nix tried to grow into that major role. What is the approach as a head coach when you know going into a game that one side is so much better, so well proven already?
Well, you have a plan going into each game, but you got to be able to adjust, especially in a game like this. And really, at the end of the day, both sides need to play well. And the SEC champion comes up, that'll be what happens probably.
Do you look for anything, any tells in the pregame warm-up to find out if guys are a little bit on edge, try to get them comfortable?
Yeah, I think so. In a game like this, you want to try to just to keep things as routine as possible. But this is not your normal game. And so as a coach, you're kind of surveying, you're watching your guys and just trying to get them to the game and get them ready to go.
You change anything from the normal routine?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think especially you get here, whatever that formula is, you do the same thing. Trust your guys, trust your coaches, and get here and see what happens.
Now, Coach, I thought we were out of time, but I'm told that they just put 1 second back on the clock. Do you have a prediction for this game?
Yeah, you know, I don't.
You're a TV man now, Gus.
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, I don't know. I mean, I think Georgia's got a good chance of beating them.
A good chance? All right.
That's all I can do there.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. We put you on the spot. Congratulations again on the way the season ended, on your second grandson. What do you think for your bowl game here?
Well, you know, I think at the end of the day, even though we lost three games, I think we're one of the best teams in the country. So we're hoping that we get a good bowl bid. You know, we're real excited and looking forward to the future.
Yeah, I think you'll be top 10 in about 24 hours.
Congrats, Coach.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Once again, great having Gus Malzahn, and we'll see if he stays for the game. It's recruiting season as well. Thanks again, Coach. It is time to step aside for a moment here as we move closer to the SEC championship game. Stay with us for State Farm College Football Today after this word from your local station.
We didn't back our way into this game. We earned our way into this game.
Touchdown! Yes, indeed! Oh, that was too easy!
We've put in the work. We have the guys, and the guys are determined.
We've worked for this. We earned this.
We understand what's at stake here.
We're ready for this.
This is going to be a battle. It's supposed to be for the SEC championship.
I don't know how you don't say with LSU's resume that they're not the best around.
Absolutely. This is what we've been working for. SEC championship. I don't think you need any more motivation.
The goal is to beat Georgia and win the SEC.
What a season it's been with much more to come.
This is exactly where we want to be.
This is the SEC Championship game.
This is the SEC Championship game.
You got to be ready for it, but how do you stop it?
He's going to go deep, and I mean deep. Touchdown!
Well, this is how legends are made.
And we welcome you back to Atlanta. Today, number 2 LSU and number 4 Georgia will be seeking SEC supremacy and an inside track to the national championship. The Dogs come to Atlanta for a third consecutive year, looking to wear a second SEC crown in that span, while Atlanta says, hello, stranger, to LSU. The Tigers making their first trip back to the conference championship game since winning it in 2011. There is a lot of barking and a lot of roaring going on here, and it's only going to get louder. Kickoff for Georgia and LSU, a little over an hour away. Hello again, everybody. I'm Adam Zucker, and welcome to State Farm College Football Today. Coming up, it's the SEC Championship game on CBS, presented by Dr. Pepper, number 4 Georgia, and number 2 LSU. I'm joined by Rick Neuheisel and Brian Jones once again. We don't need a playoff to see 2 top 4 teams play a game.
I tell you what, you can sit and wait for your call of glory, or you can get up, get out, and do something, as Outkast, the famed music group from right here in Hot Atlanta, would implore you to do. We got the 2 best in the SEC, 2 of the best in all the nation. They won't have to wait much longer to claim their glory.
I feel like I'm in an episode of Duck Dynasty sitting next to you.
You better look out.
This is a memory maker. This is one of those games you're going to have memories for a lifetime. The question is, what kind of memories are they going to be? You have to stay focused as these guys get ready so that you go put your best foot forward.
Yeah, another band from up the road, Widespread Panic. That's what Georgia wants to create right here with their defense today. And with more on Georgia and Kirby Smart, let's go to Jamie Erdahl, who filed this tailgate report presented by Smile Direct Glove earlier.
An SEC champion will be crowned later today here in Atlanta. For LSU, this feels like a team of destiny as the stars have aligned for the Tigers. But what the Georgia Bulldogs have going for them is their experience on this stage at this game. But they will have to enter today with a question mark surrounding the health of one of their star players. Coach, after seeing DeAndre Swift injured in last week's game, can you tell us about the week that he had at practice and what his status is today?
Yeah, he had a good week of practice. He's a really competitive kid, and I'm really excited to see what he can do today. I mean, he wants to go. He feels good, and we're expecting him to be able to go.
With him as part of your offensive arsenal, are you comfortable getting into a shootout with LSU, or do you feel like you have to pull the reins back to make it more of a defensive game?
Well, I don't think you control that. I think the ebb and flow of the game is kind of how it goes. We obviously going to have to score some points. They got a very potent offense. They got a tremendous team, but we got to play our best game.
How important is it that majority of your guys have played in this game before?
Well, it can be a factor conditioning-wise, maybe emotionally, but other than that, the field's just the same as we've all been playing on.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
A win at the SEC Championship moves one of these teams closer in the college football playoff in hopes of winning a national championship. If you do that, you will forever be etched in the hearts of your fans, but also forever enshrined on the walls of the College Football Hall of Fame.
And that Hall of Fame is right down the road here. What does Georgia have to do? What does Kirby Smart have to do, Coach, to channel that underdog role that they're rarely in, but they are today?
Well, as you saw him right there, this is old hat. This is 3 times in a row to Atlanta. They know how to play here. They know how to be comfortable here. And he makes no apologies for being old school.
Right.
Built this team to be old school. This is a time of possession game for me. I think he has to have the ball more than LSU.
And he's faced similar potent offenses. Alabama with their 4, wide receivers that are fleet of foot, and also Oklahoma a couple years in the playoff.
Yeah, and he was the man behind that Alabama defense for a long time as well. When we return, a closer look at LSU's Clyde Edwards-Helaire as he attempts to bring home an SEC championship. You are watching State Farm College Football Today on CBS. LSU returns to the SEC championship game for the first time since 2011. Here's a recap of the West Division champion season presented by the Home Depot.
Burrow, snap back, releases, catches, grabbed by Chase. He's in for the score. Touchdown, touchdown, Tigers. This one is in the books. Tigers win. Will Joe Burrow run this? He will, and he's going to score. LSU is 8-0.
Death Valley produces again.
It's on. Burrow going for all of it. Caught. Touchdown, Jamar Chase. Edwards-Helaire with a spin, and he'll have one. Biggest win for Ed Orgeron. The biggest win for Joe Burrow.
And a bit of a road game for the Tigers today as we are just over an hour away from kickoff. And welcome you back to college football today. And while LSU's Joe Burrow has become Louisiana's adopted son, their star running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire has proven to be their hometown hero. Considered by some to be under-recruited because of his smaller size, Edwards-Helaire has developed a larger-than-life game on the field.
Most of the time, Clyde always has to prove himself. The initial doubt is his height. He's 5'8.5", 5'9" maybe.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire with room, 20, near side, 15, 10, 5.
He was always one of the smallest kids. One of the most athletic, however, one of the smallest.
Edwards-Helaire with a spin, and he'll have one. Touchdown, LSU.
It was constant chatter about, well, he's doing good now, but maybe not so good at the next level.
Although, you know, he had a lot of doubt from some people here in Louisiana, he didn't let that get the best of him.
20, far sideline, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Tigers!
This is where I wanted to come. This is home.
39-yard touchdown run for Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
In my mind, this was realistic. It just didn't seem realistic for everyone else. And now we're here.
In many ways, LSU's premier running back has always been here. Clyde Edwards-Helaire grew up in Baton Rouge, raised by his mom and stepdad after his biological father was sent to prison when Clyde was less than a year old.
My name's Clyde Edwards, and that's the name that I was born with. And when my stepdad came into my life, that was my dad. That's who I grew up under.
Clyde's mom and I met. Clyde was, I think, 10 months old. When I married her kids also. It was never a question. It was just part of the whole deal.
Clyde grew up knowing Shannon. He never felt like he was lacking or missing anything. As the years went on, you know, he would ask me about, you know, I want my last name to be Helaire too.
That was a decision that I made. Ever since then, it's been Edwards-Helaire, and this is the guy that raised me.
For someone to love you enough to want to always be a part of you, you know, there's no way to describe that in words.
Clyde's biological dad got out of jail in 2014. While father and son are still getting to know each other in new ways, on the sidelines, his parents are firmly united as family.
I get to honor two important men in my life. We're all in this together, and we're all living this dream right now.
We all go to the game together. We all sit in the same row together, and we all cheer for Clyde together.
A kid can't ask for a better thing than two guys that really care about him. We both there to support him. And this year, he's stamping his name on an LSU legacy.
It's awesome. It's you know, to watch your kid dreams come true, like right before your eyes, it's like, it's, you know, nothing can replace it. Nothing.
Nothing. And like she said, they're all in this together. You saw it in the hug after they beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Georgia may be the underdog, but LSU's got several underdogs, especially this kid.
Yeah, a superb football player, and he does a wonderful job of bursting through perceptions that don't serve him well, whether it's his height or lack thereof.
What do they say? Big things in small packages, right? We talked about how good he is with the football. Watch a film of him pass protecting. Go back to that Texas game where he saved the day. Let Burrow get that ball out.
I'd rather not. that.
No, he doesn't. Yeah, don't show BJ any more Texas film. But you see those 16 touchdowns, the most in the SEC on the ground. Now, as for back home in Baton Rouge, it isn't often you see fans storming the field, especially on a Monday. But that's just what happened to Tiger Stadium earlier this week. Our man on this field right now, Kevin Carter, has more on that story.
Guys, I'm surrounded by rabid LSU fans, but earlier this week, you mentioned it, back in Baton Rouge, under renovations to Tiger Stadium to the drainage system, they gave away some 3,300 pieces of actual slabs of grass from the old field. Guys, it was gone in a matter of minutes as fans got there as early as 10 a.m. to get their piece of history. But that grass was witness to one of the most explosive offenses in LSU football history. 44 touchdowns by Joe Burrow, 1,200 yards by Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 16 touchdowns on the ground, as you just saw in this wonderful piece. And guys, doesn't get any better than this.
No doubt, Kevin. And, you know, it's still planting season down south in Baton Rouge. They could probably get that to propagate, a little piece of history, get it to grow in your front lawn. We'll see.
There's some barren land down there, apparently.
Send some to Les Miles.
The Sod Squad.
Send some to the Hat. All right, we'll preview 2 primetime conference championship games with playoff implications in our Saturday Spotlight when we return.
Catch the Dr. Pepper Tuition Giveaway during halftime of the SEC Championship presented by Dr. Pepper later today on CBS.
Welcome back again, everyone. You know, Jake Fromm ranks in the top 5 in Georgia history in touchdown passes, passing yards, and pass completions. The junior from Warner Robins, Georgia, also has a 12-5 record against top 25 teams, and he's the focus of our 20-second drill.
William Jacob Fromm, quarterback, University of Georgia, 2 brothers, mom and dad, granddad, best friend, 2 dogs, Charlie, Dixie. I love steak and taters, favorite food. My favorite hobbies are hunting and fishing. Sports, love them all. Love God. But 1 second. Dang it.
Competitive kid.
I'm with him on that steak and taters.
I knew you would be. That's exactly right. You hit the nail on the head. He is ultra competitive. Even in a silly 20-second drill, he's fighting to get every thought in. That's the kind of competitor he is.
Yeah, see if he gets some steak and taters.
Only if you win.
By the end of the night, exactly. All right, let's now go to the booth and bring in Brad Nessler and Gary Danielson, who will call our game today. Guys, it is great to see you. I guess my question is, how does Georgia make this their kind of game and slow down that amazing LSU offense?
Yeah, I think they have to have their offense help their defense in this game. And to me, this offense was built about those big offensive linemen. I think they need to attack the edges of this LSU defense, running the ball first, and that will let everything calm down for the quarterback as the game goes on.
I think DeAndre Swift and James Cook and some of the running backs are going to have to take up the slack, guys, for at least the first half until Pickens can get back in there and help Jake Fromm out. I love that thing about Jake, because yesterday when we talked to Kirby said he and I are a lot alike.
Right.
Well, ultra competitive, sometimes to a fault, and kind of overanalyze everything. He wants Jake to go out and have some fun. And he, in this building, he might be 1 and 2, but he's had some pretty decent stats.
Kirby can't throw, though.
No, he can't. Not at all.
On that same topic, we keep the subject here, Jake Fromm. Do you think he and Kirby are feeling any pressure at all, given the monster season that Georgia transfer Justin Fields is having at Ohio State?
You know, Rick, I thought so during the second half of the season, but I think here today, being the underdog is going to free him up. He has not, as I say, 1 and 2 here, but he's got good memories. And if it was a baseball, he's hit the ball well here. It's been caught. He has thrown the ball well in this stadium.
Hey, you know, out in Warner Robins, when he was in Pee Wee, he was in big games. He knows big games. I think Jake's going to show up today.
Hey, guys, when you look at LSU and Joe Burrow, he was able to manipulate that secondary of Alabama, confuse them back there all game long. Do you see him being able to be as effective in this one? Because this is a similar defense, you know, a carbon copy of what Nick Saban likes to run.
You know, I thought Joe's coming out party was the regular season game against Georgia last year when he used his legs as well, if not better, than his arm. He had a couple of touchdowns rushing in that game. I think that's something that's got Kirby Smart a little bit concerned is the running ability of Joe Burrow. But, you know, he's been up for every big game, and he showed up for every big game.
Here's my thought. Georgia comes into this game a year ago against an Alabama offense that was unstoppable. Remember, before this game started, Tua Tagovailoa was the leader in the Heisman voting. Georgia knocked him out of the game. I think Georgia's saying, we'll be okay if we don't face their backup quarterback in this game.
Guys, a lot of playoff implications today. What does LSU have to do? Assuming Ohio State wins tonight, what does LSU have to do to get to the #1 spot? Is that possible?
Rick, for me, if they win, they've had the most top 10 wins in the best conference being undefeated. I think they should be #1. I think this whole thing about eyeball test, especially again last night, Utah, everybody told us Utah had the better team, and look what happened. I think you got to set aside the eyeball test, and it should be the resume. If LSU wins, they should be #1.
I agree, and I think LSU's in already. It just depends on what spot they're going to be in, whether it's #1 or not. If they beat Georgia, they belong there.
Yeah, and if Georgia wins, it makes the committee's job that much easier, especially after Utah lost last night. Brad, Gary, thank you very much. A little hot water, lemon, honey, before the big telecast here in a very loud Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And, of course, there are other conference championship games coming up tonight, and we need to get these guys' picks of those before we pick Georgia and LSU. Now, last week, BJ, 3-3.
Whoa!
3-3.
That's unacceptable.
Yeah, Rick closed the gap going 4-2, so BJ has a 2-game lead, but not many games to pick from here on out as we check out our Saturday Spotlights presented by Chick-fil-A, starting with the ACC Championship game as #3 Clemson battles #23 Virginia tonight in Charlotte. The defending national champs are on a really quiet 27-game winning streak, by the way, seeking their 5th consecutive conference title as well as a 5th straight playoff berth. Meanwhile, the Cavaliers making their first ACC Championship game appearance and will be Clemson's first ranked opponent since early September, Rick.
The good news for Virginia, they've got a hot quarterback, nearly 500 yards for Bryce Perkins last week in total offense. The bad news, they're playing Clemson. Clemson comes in hot. Trevor Lawrence, 7 straight games to 3 touchdowns or more. You got to go Clemson.
That defense is pretty hot there as well for Clemson, but I love what Bryce Perkins is doing, averaging over 285 passing, over 100 rushing the last 4 games. It won't be enough. Tigers win.
Yeah, Tigers have been blowing everybody out. Now, also tonight, the Big Ten championship game between top-ranked Ohio State and #8 Wisconsin in Indy. The Buckeyes have beaten the Badgers 8 consecutive times and can become the first Big Ten team to win 3 straight outright conference titles. Meanwhile, Wisconsin, they've won 4 in a row, but that followed the blowout in Columbus, BJ, and it won't be snowing in Indy.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with Ohio State, I think, in this one. J.K. Dobbins, 2 games versus Wisconsin. He's averaging over 6 yards per carry, whereas Jonathan Taylor, he's about 2 yards per carry against that Buckeyes defense.
Remember, Justin Fields got nicked up a little last week, but then he came out of the tent and threw a touchdown pass. So I think it's all Buckeyes tonight. I love the Badgers. They've had a great season, but not enough to get past these Ohio State fellas.
Yeah, and Fields says it's about 70%. And again, that #1 conversation is a major one, but some teams just want to be #4. And Oklahoma and Baylor are tied at 23 right now in the Big 12 championship game. Of course, #5 Utah losing last night. So whoever wins this game, they are hoping that Georgia falls here today. But we put up the CFP top 10. And once again, this conversation about LSU, they want to be #1. Georgia wants to stay in the top 4 here today.
Georgia clearly has the road paved for them right in front of them. They got to come out and play well today. And I think there is a case to be made if this game were to go to overtime and Georgia fell, that they could be the #4 team regardless.
Yeah, I wouldn't be averse to that. But I think the Big 12 winner should be in. Oklahoma will definitely be in if they win it, and Baylor should get some serious consideration.
Is that based on the Bears' non-conference schedule, you're saying?
Absolutely. Baylor does not have a very competitive non-conference schedule. This game's so competitive it's going to go down to the wire. Yeah. I think Georgia, with a great performance, even though it's a near miss, I think they could merit some consideration.
All right, lots to be determined. When we return, Rick sits down with Heisman frontrunner Joe Burrow. Jake Fromm going to try to outduel him today as things are starting to heat up down here for the SEC championship between #4 Georgia and #2 LSU. Expectations have been high for the Bulldogs to reclaim the SEC title and add a national championship. Moments now from the East Division champion season, presented by the Home Depot.
Fromm going to throw it for the corner of the end zone. Cager makes an adjustment, makes the catch. Did he get the foot in? Yeah! Touchdown, Lawrence Cager spinning in the air. It's everything we expected, I think, and then some. Play fake. Fromm throws out in the flat, completes it. It is a touchdown to Dominic Blaylock. Jubilation on the Bulldog sideline.
We sacked him for a big loss. It'll be their third consecutive trip to Atlanta.
How about that?
Well, they've dried off and made the trip down here from Athens. The Dogs are underdogs today as we are under 45 minutes away from kickoff. And now here's Jamie Erdahl, who caught up with Ed Orgeron earlier.
Coach, statistically, this is the best defense you've faced all season long. How do you maintain the firepower your offense has garnered so far?
We're going to have to protect the quarterback. There will be a lot of stunts. They're going to try to get to Joe early. We have to protect him, complete balls, and plus take care of the football. We can't have a lot of negative plays or turnovers.
This team is loose. They're comfortable. They're having fun. How do you maintain that and promote it in an atmosphere like this?
You know, it's what we do. We prepare every day. We're like a family. We've had a blast since we've been here. This is the most focused I've seen our team. They're loose. They're ready to play.
Speaking of focus, what does your defense need to do today to disrupt a team that has experience at this level?
We need to play well up front. They have a great offensive line. They have 4 or 5 guys who play in the NFL. A big-time running back. We have to stop the run.
Thank you, Coach.
Go Tigers.
You have to be so happy for Ed Orgeron, a longtime assistant, a grinder of grinders in recruiting. He is rolling hot dice right now, Brian. This guy, he was 3-21 in conference play at Ole Miss. Unbelievable story.
Every time he shoots, he rolls a 7. Yeah, I think he's going to be the leader and the winner of the Coach of the Year. I know there's a lot of good football being played, a lot of great coaching, but I love what he's done. Never wavered trying to improve the offense, and no ego was involved in doing such.
All great candidates right there, and a lot of times it's about the perfect fit, and it's not just the coach that applies to. Ed Orgeron and LSU Nation finally got the quarterback they've been longing for in Joe Burrow, and Rick went down to Cajun country to speak with the Ohio kid who's given some football flair to the term laissez les bon temps rouler. Let the good times roll.
Don't you have the feel that Joe Burrow is going to have to do something to ice the game?
And Burrow keeps it. Joe Burrow might be a Heisman moment right there.
I talked to Ed about you and recruiting you, and he said it was clear you didn't want to go out and be entertained on your recruiting trip. You wanted to talk football. And he said it was clear to him in a very short time you were the smartest guy in the room.
Yeah.
You remember that?
I do remember that, yeah.
What was happening?
So, you know, they had all these hype videos and tour of the campus and all that. And I was like,
Been there, done that.
That's not what I'm worried about. I'm a 21-year-old grad transfer, you know, I'm worried about ball. And so we got in that film room for about, I think it was scheduled for an hour and a half. We were in there for probably 4 hours. It was really, you know, it was a perfect fit from the beginning.
There's this saying in football, especially about the quarterback position, he has it. Do you have it?
I like to think so. You know, we win games. I don't know if I have it or not. That's not for me to decide.
There's no question in my mind you have it. In case, just let you rest easy here. The College Football Playoff Committee has spoken, and LSU and Ohio State are always at the top of the list. Do you dream about a matchup against your old teammates?
I dream about winning national championships. Whoever's in our way, that's for them to decide.
But you wouldn't mind if it were those scarlet and gray guys, would you?
I wouldn't mind.
I don't think you would. There's a saying about quarterbacks that some like to talk noise. Do you mind that moniker that you're a stuff talker?
You know, I don't go into games thinking like I'm going to go in and talk some trash. I've never initiated. But if they start it, I'll finish it.
Never the initiator.
Never the
All
initiator.
Right, well, that's good news. I'm on record as having said, you remind me of Tom Brady. You laugh, but I'm serious.
Well, it's a huge honor coming from you. You know, I just try to be the best player I can, try to prepare the best way that I can to help us be successful on Saturdays.
You know, Brady was 199th in the draft. The Patriots, I think it was the 6th round. You probably know the story, right? Do you see yourself as a little bit of an underdog? Do you play with a little chip on your shoulder?
Yeah, I do. You know, I 3-star recruit. Places I wanted to go didn't want me. Then obviously the transfer, and I definitely keep a mental log about all the things like that.
Are you the luckiest guy in the world?
No, I don't like when people say that. Say lucky. Luck has nothing to do with it. You know, I've worked for this. I've worked my tail off. When people say lucky, that implies you kind of fell backwards into it. You know, this has been a long time coming.
I have so enjoyed Joe Burrow's season. The guy speaks quarterback. You can sit there and talk to him about plays that have occurred over the course of the year. He remembers them vividly. You can give him a scenario. He can keep track of all 22 players. He is a consummate player at this position, and that's why they've given him the keys to the car, Brian.
I like his comments about luck. You know, he makes it look easy, but there's a process involved. And what stands out when you watch film on him, subtle movements within the pocket. I think that's where you got that Tom Brady comparison, because this guy, the little idiosyncrasies, that nuances that are associated with playing quarterback and manipulating defenders.
And wouldn't it be something if he ends up facing the Buckeyes in the national championship, his old teammates, with that national title game in New Orleans?
Cool Hand Joe.
Year. That's right. Well, the players are out, getting warmed up. Things picking up here. Number 4, Georgia, and number 2, LSU, under 40 minutes away. You are watching State Farm College Football Today on CBS. And welcome back once again to State Farm College Football Today. Under 37 minutes until kickoff now as both teams get ready to go. A reminder, stream CBS Sports HQ, the completely free and always on sports news network for nonstop highlights, breaking news, and expert picks. Download the CBS Sports app on your phone or connected TV to watch today. All right, time to take a look at some of the key players in this game today as the players are warming up live in our eye test, and we start with the East Division champs, BJ, number 4, Georgia.
Yeah, put your brain on this. 4th year for Kirby Smart, 3 straight East titles, an SEC title. He's played in a national title ball game, coming up just short, and Coach Smart has been outstanding.
The leader of the Georgia team is Jake Fromm. In the aftermath of that Florida victory, we all heard Kirby Smart say, "Don't doubt Jake Fromm." We pointed out the challenges today. He's going to have to be great on 3rd down. He's going to have to be great keeping them on the field. We'll see if he can survive without those big receivers in that first half.
DeAndre Swift lives up to that last name. He is so swift, and even with a dinged shoulder, you can't be moderately concerned about this guy because he can get out of trouble quicker than he got into it. Back-to-back 1,000-yard season. Here's his stablemate there in the backfield, Brian Harrion, an excellent receiver out of the backfield. Remember that outstanding catch he made versus the rivals, Florida.
Here's George Pickens. He will not play in the first half. He showed his youth last week getting in an altercation against Georgia Tech. He'll be really important when he comes back. He's going to have the right mindset. Here's one of the guys that's going to be counted on in the first half and hopefully throughout, Demetrius Robertson, the transfer from Cal. He's going to have to make some big plays. There's no question about it.
Especially with Cager out.
Lawrence Cager here. What a shame. He had been so big in this offense. We would go back to that Florida game where he had the monster game. Obviously, you can see he's not available.
And, of course, this is a defense that has unfinished business from the way last year's SEC championship game ended and the national title game a couple years ago. They're 1-2 in this building. They want to win here.
Yeah, teamwork makes the dream work, and one of their fabulous teammates is Monty Rice. He's their leading tackler, an Alabama native. He was snubbed by the Crimson Tide, and he flipped from LSU to Georgia. His guy there in the linebacker room, Tay Crowder, 12 games this year he started, 54 total stops, second best on the team.
J.R. Reed transferred from Tulsa early in his career. He's been a fixture in this back end. He's great at reading opponent's eyes. He will be studying Joe Burrow's look all day long. And the same goes for Richard LeCount, also a back-end player. Both these guys can play both run and pass equally well.
And, of course, there is the cult hero, Rodrigo Blankenship. SEC Scholar Athlete of the Year, 5 for 6 on field goals in 3 games here at Mercedes-Benz. He was hopping around all day yesterday during warm-ups, trying kicks from different spots. And you know, Georgia's the underdog, like I said, but from head coach to quarterback to the star running back, the LSU team is full of guys who've been doubted or bypassed or given no shot.
Starting with their head coach, Ed Ogeron, the voice of the Bayou, the odds-on favorite to become Coach of the Year. Everything he's touched has turned to gold. From tabbing Ensminger as the OC, finding Burrow from Ohio State, finding Joe Brady. Awesome stuff.
Joe Burrow, the 2019 Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award winner. All he does is sit back there, heat up the oven, and watch the bread rise. This guy's taking this LSU offense to new, incredible heights. And how about my man Clyde Edwards-Helaire? He has a lot of that can't touch this. Defenders will find. He is tough to handle. He is so strong and elusive.
The receivers are the real deal. Justin Jefferson will be the slot guy. He and Burrow see the middle of the field the same. 81 catches, 13 touchdowns. Evidence that they are on the same page. And how about this guy into the boundary, Jamar Chase? He's like throwing to your friend in the backyard. Nearly 1,500 yards, 17 touchdowns. A sure shot for the Blitnikoff Award. And this Marshall guy, he'll get one-on-one all day because they'll be trying to double those other 2. Look for him to make some big plays. He missed 3 games, but still had 8 touchdown catches.
And, of course, this LSU defense has heard that they're the weak link, and they took that as disrespect after the team went from number 1 to number 2 for that reason, and they go out and only allow 7 points to Texas A&M. BJ, they had a huge first half against Alabama, don't forget either.
Yeah, and Caleb Chase is very aware that they've been maligned. The defense, in his words, hasn't been playing right throughout the season. We're thankful the offense is helping us out quite a bit. So he has to bring it today. Jacob Phillips, his teammate there in the linebacker room, he's taken the baton from Devin White, who's an All-American now, high on his wares in the NFL.
Jacoby Stevens is a hybrid type of player. He's what Dave Aranda loves. You might see him playing center field today. You might see him rushing the passer. He can do a little of everything. And then last but not least, you got this youngster, Derek Stingley. Gus Malzahn called him, don't throw it to 24. He's got everything you look for. He's got length to keep you at bay. He will be a cover cat today.
Indeed, and you see Grant Delpit there as well. Cade York, the kicker for LSU. They haven't been in as many close games as Georgia because they've been blowing everybody out. We'll see if he has to answer a pressure situation this year with those 18 field goals that he made this season. Look, it's cats and dogs. They don't like each other, but they do have one thing in common in the SEC. They don't like Gators. So we brought one with us, and that's Kevin Carter down on the field. Kevin, let's check in with you once again. Who's the looser team down there in warm-ups right now?
I think it's LSU, really, because I just saw Caleb Chase and lead the defensive line and the outside rushers through hitting the goalpost and slapping and ripping through. And these guys are relishing this moment. I saw the entire wide receiver group for the LSU Tigers taking a group picture. I see them dancing. I see them relishing this moment. They're loving to be here. And Joe Burrow, my goodness, he brings new meaning to the word steely-eyed. He came out and looked through everyone on this field, and I saw him throw dime after dime after dime in warm-ups, Adam.
Indeed. I could actually see him looking into Rick's soul when Rick asked him if he felt lucky in their sit-down interview earlier. All right, Kevin, great stuff. As we approach 30 minutes until kickoff here, we'll be back with more State Farm College Football Today. State Farm College Football Today is sponsored by State Farm. Talk to an agent today at 800-STATE-FARM. Jersey Mike Subs. Be a sub above. And by Smile Direct Club. Get the confidence of a winning smile. And we welcome you back to State Farm College Football Today. Kevin Carter said LSU was the looser team. I mean, this is how you get loose right here, right? Jumping jack. Coach O can't get those arms up any higher, I guess, though, as we are well under 30 minutes away from kickoff. Players are just introduced. I'd say it's about 25% LSU fans here inside Mercedes-Benz Stadium, but they are right behind us. And they want to know if LSU can slow down Jake Fromm the way he's been slowed down lately, Rick.
Well, there's a lot of concern about Jake Fromm in in particular the last 4 games where he's been under 50%. I wanted to look at some film to see if there was anything that indicated. Let me show you what I found. Sometimes it's just inexperience at receiver. Here's Dominic Blaylock, their freshman, slipping on a route. Hard to complete a pass when your receiver is falling down. Sometimes it's a little bit of an improper fundamental. Here you can see Fromm getting out of the pocket, but his body's going in an opposite direction than where his arm is going. He doesn't get enough on the ball goes into the ground, incompletion. This is the most concerning, though. When you've got a read that he should know as well, you've got a post outside versus one-on-one coverage with inside help. You can see all the grass to the outside right there to the corner route. He should be laying that out there to his receiver. He doesn't. He can't miss those opportunities today if they expect to be successful.
Lack of continuity with the revolving door at the wide receiver position, and as you pointed out, technique sometimes gets away from him.
But he's also been great in big games, including in this building. And look, SEC championship games. Yeah, he lost one last year. 5 touchdowns, no interceptions, though.
There's no question that this kid has the stuff to be a winning quarterback. Yes. That's not a question today. The question today, given his receiving core, can he make enough plays to stay on the field? Because as I said earlier, time of possession to me, given the way Kirby Smart wants to play, is really important.
Well, can those receivers create some separation? That's going to be the key, because he can drop some dimes in there, just like Kevin Clark was talking about Burrow. With Fromm is well equipped to do that also.
Or is it the running backs as receivers? Is it the short stuff? Is it Brian Herrien and Swift and Zamir White? I saw Herschel Walker last night. He said Zamir has to be Zeus, his nickname. He has to be a god.
DeAndre Swift is off 11 catches from a year ago. Yep. That number has to be watched today. The other thing is, who's that guy into his boundary? He loves that back shoulder throw. He's made a career of it. Who can come up with that catch today?
Swift has been the one constant along with Herrien.
And now we'll see what Kirby Smart has to say to these guys for their big pregame hype session as they go to the locker room, and the Tigers do as well. When we return, a look at the bark and the bite of the Bulldogs, the defense. All right, welcome back. The Big 12 championship just ended. It went to overtime for the second time in its history. Ramondre Stevenson for Oklahoma does it on the ground to give the Sooners a 30-23 lead. Baylor's chance to answer. 4th and 20. Wow. Uh-oh. Incomplete. And Oklahoma would appear to be headed back to the playoff, but they will be rooting for LSU to beat Georgia today. They are going to need that, but Jalen Hurts is on his way back to the playoff if things go the Sooners' way the rest of the night, guys.
Well, you look at Baylor, they're on their 3rd quarterback in this ball game, and I thought they really mishandled the Charlie Brewer situation early on. He should have been taken out a lot sooner than he was, but congrats to the Sooners.
Alabama fans will say they found their way to the playoff anyway. If LSU wins today, Jalen Hurts squarely in Alabama, man.
And can we just say this right now? Oklahoma owns the Big 12. They win the conference like each and every, what's this, the 5th, 6th straight?
It is
I know. It's bothersome.
A run. Lincoln Riley never been hotter as a coach.
Yeah, but the Tide can adopt Jalen Hurts for a couple more weeks. All right, meanwhile, Georgia's stellar defense is the heart and soul of their team, and how they got here. BJ has more on that.
Did Maurer get level pressure from Quay Walker? And it's knocked down by Georgia.
There is a mantra these days in Athens that every dog believes in. No one in our end zone. And they mean no one in our end zone.
No one in our end zone. No one in our end zone. And no one in our end zone.
Huge defensive stand right there for the Dogs.
We suck it for a big loss. Wow.
It's something that's embedded in our brains, and we pride ourselves on that.
If we get 11 hats to the ball, there's no way anybody can get in our end zone.
The Bulldogs' bravado is backed up by the bottom line. The top SEC D has allowed only 1 rushing touchdown all season, and 2 passing TDs in any given game has been the max. Staggering numbers with punishing results. Florida was held to 21 yards on the ground. Texas A&M literally went backwards, add it all up. Georgia has allowed an average of 71 rushing yards per game all season.
Just giving up one touchdown on the ground comes from practice, and then that saying, no one in the end zone. Take a lot of pride in just not letting anyone score, period.
Because if you stop the run in any defense, then you can make them one-dimensional and make them throw the ball. So I feel like we pride ourselves on that.
Surprisingly, Georgia has delivered its dominance without big turnover numbers or overwhelming loss of yardage plays. They've done it the smart way. Disciplined tackling and uncanny awareness to stay in their gaps.
Oh, we gobble him up.
Be where you're supposed to be in your gap. And what's your primary gap, what's your secondary gap. And as long as we do what we're supposed to be doing up front, everything else is going to fall in place.
I know if everyone can just line up and do their job, that's all you need. We don't need anyone, trying to make plays outside of their body. And just one guy that misses a gap or one guy misses a line or he's just a line too short, that can mess up the whole defense.
The philosophy from this Athens, games, they aren't won on Saturdays.
We win Monday through Friday. That's when we win the game. We win them between Mondays through Thursdays.
And we were able to get each other in the right position because we practice that day in and day out in the physicality. Nobody else is around doing it like us.
If there was ever a time to prove that defense wins championships, that would be today.
It's our third year in a row being in the SEC championship. This don't happen often. We need to take advantage of this opportunity that we got.
We focus on the little things, the big things will follow.
It's two great teams going against each other in the SEC. And whoever can handle adversity the best is going to win the game.
Well, this faceless Georgia defense packs more kick than an Army mule. I mean, these guys are stellar at swarming opposing offense. You will see that on display this afternoon.
When I watch Georgia play defense, I feel like it's a symphony of shoulder pads. They know where their help is. They take it on with the right shoulder. They're spilling to their guys. They come downhill. They get there with reckless abandon, and yet it's not reckless. They know exactly how to play this defense.
Sounds like just a drum section, really. Is my guess. Only one rushing touchdown allowed all year. All right, and now Amazon Music presents its 2019 Scholar Athletes from the SEC. Throughout the year, Amazon Music has been committed to the investment of our future, shown today by donating $1,000 to each of the 14 SEC schools' general scholarship funds in honor of the scholars you see on your screen for their accomplishments in the classroom, the community, and on the field of play. A great job by each of them. As we continue to approach kickoff here at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, we will be back with predictions as State Farm College Football Today returns. And welcome back to State Farm College Football Today as we approach 16 minutes until kickoff. You see LSU all over the field here at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I feel like a lot of people have been predicting that LSU is going to be the winner here. Our predictions start with Coach Neuheisel.
I am going to go with LSU 35, Georgia 24. I have just loved this Joe Burrow kid. I think he's got a little mixture of accuracy and patience. Those both spell doom for that Georgia defense. Throw in a little bit of run. That's the difference.
I hear you, my man. Georgia has to use some multiplicity as far as their schemes are concerned. Mix up that zone, and man, LSU has to stop the Georgia run. I'm going to go with LSU. I think that defense is going to stand up again like they did last week. 27-17 LSU.
All right, let's get a quick prediction from Kevin before they kick him off the field.
I'm going with LSU, 31-28. I think Georgia's going to do a great job of slowing Joe Burrow down early in the game with multiple looks in the back end, but I think LSU has more firepower when it's all said and done.
You know what? I know everything points to LSU winning this game. I know all the reasons. I have hosted enough shows where everybody is wrong, so I'm going with the Dogs, and 75% of this stadium, 33-30, and they go to the playoff too.
He's thinking self-preservation.
Number 4, Georgia, and number 2, LSU are moments away from crowning a new SEC champion and capping off yet another memorable season in which many games that came down to the final seconds were determined by a defining moment and, in most cases, a lasting memory.
Welcome everybody, Jim Nance along with the coach.
There are few scenes to equal Ely Stadium in Knoxville on a football Saturday.
I'm Brad Nessler with Gary Daniels. We welcome you to the 19th year of the SEC on CBS. For nearly a quarter of a century, the SEC on CBS has been the best game from the best conference.
I will defend this one! I will defend this one!
On the plains of Auburn and between the hedges in Georgia, from T-Town to the swamp, the bayou and beyond, it's the 12th man, the Vol Navy, the Grove, and so much more. Passion, pageantry, tradition. Two iconic brands sharing a generation of indelible memories. The past.
No, returned by Chris Davis. Chris Davis, an answered prayer. Oh, my gracious. How about that? Oh, jump pass. Are you kidding me? LSU remains undefeated.
Jalen Hurts, touchdown! Melding to the present. Are you kidding me? 100 yards, touchdown. DeAndre Swift. Wow. Biggest win for Ed Orgeron. The biggest win for Joe Burrow. Creating a timeless Saturday tradition.
There is one more memory in store for either Georgia or LSU this afternoon. Brad, Gary, and Jamie with the call after this message and a word from your local station. You have been watching State Farm College Football Today on CBS.